Am I the asshole for proposing to my girlfriend at my brother's wedding and posting it on social media? My brother and his wife got married last week. It was a big beach wedding with about 100 people. While the bride and groom were doing their photo shoot that took an hour, the guests were walking down the beach, having some snacks that were served, talking to each other, etc. We were waiting for the dinner to be served and just killing time. My girlfriend and I have been together for 10 years and have a kid together. Marriage just never came up. We are both really not the romantic type. When our son was born, I jokingly told her I'd propose to her on a beach at sunset someday. So after the wedding we were walking down the beach. We were alone, no one was even paying any attention to us at all because there were 100 people there. I just asked her, "So, beach at sunset. Will you marry me?" She said, we had a good laugh, took a selfie together and slowly walked back to the site of the reception. We haven't told anyone we are getting married yet, it will be a courthouse wedding anyway. 2 days ago my girlfriend posted that selfie on her social media, tagged me and wrote a caption, "Finally marrying the love of my life," and a sunset beach proposal. Now everyone who knows us knew it was a sarcastic caption and knew it was more a joking post than anything else. Brother and Sil called us very upset hours after that post. Sil said we ridiculed their wedding with our post. Brother said I'm an asshole for proposing at someone else's wedding. AITA? I was ready to say you're the asshole, but you didn't propose in front of everybody. You didn't announce it at the reception and you waited 2 days to post it, so not the asshole. Sil is the one who is ridiculous here. The whole reason you shouldn't propose at someone's wedding is because the attention should be on the bride and groom and because it would be rude, insensitive, etc. to steal the attention from them. If you and your now fiancé were alone, didn't tell anyone until after the wedding and literally nobody knew about the engagement at the time, therefore you didn't steal any attention from the ones getting married, then I would say not the asshole. I was getting ready to vote YTA for selfishly using someone else's special day to make your proposal, but after reading the whole post, not the asshole. You didn't announce it at the time and take attention away from the newlyweds. You didn't do it in front of a bunch of people. You didn't even tell anyone. You just quietly went about your business, and even the social media post came days after the wedding. Brother and Sil are being laughable at their ludicrous notion that something they didn't even know had happened until days later has, somehow, retroactively ruined their wedding. I mean, of all the ways to propose at someone else's wedding, this is probably the least tacky. Still, you'd think that in 10 years together, you could have found a different occasion. Soft, you are the asshole. Soft, you are the asshole since you didn't make a big scene. But don't propose at someone else's wedding unless Toot got permission from the bride and groom beforehand. You have 364 other days to make a proposal. You are the asshole. You couldn't have found another night to go to the beach and propose? Am I the asshole for bringing up the past? My husband and I have been married for 16 years. He always wants me to be a som, and I did try for 3 years between 2015–2018. But being a som took a toll on my mental health so much that I ended up got back to work. I have to travel for my job, maybe once every 2 months, for 3–4 days. It was not a demanding job otherwise, and the schedule is pretty flexible. We have a 14-yo and 5-yo. On weekdays my mom stay at our house to babysit. We also have a house helper to do housework and help taking care of my 5-yo. My husband doesn't like the fact that I have to travel and always making remarks that I don't fully do my job as a mother. He says that while he tolerate that I have a job, I really don't have to since he can provide for us. It really gets on Mount Nerve because when my first kid was still a newborn my husband often went on vacations with his friends and left me to take care of the baby. I never told him no back then because I felt that he needed the experience, and I didn't particularly care to travel back then. We were married pretty young and most of our friends are still single back then. So I told him that he doesn't get to guilt trip me for my work travel while he basically abandoned me and our baby and vacationing with his friends, and I never made it an issue. He said I was asshole to bring up something that happened more than a decade ago. I really didn't care back then, but I just want him to know that he put me in a hot seat for a lesson that he also did, maybe even worse because I travel for job, and he traveled for leisure, but never had the consequences. So, am I the asshole? He says that while he tolerates that I have a job, this is a huge red flag. I'm sorry, but you are not his property, and the fact that he thinks he gets to tolerate you having a job is not okay. Also, not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your husband's attitude is archaic, controlling and gross. Location flag. Not the asshole and y'all need counseling. You need to be able to say, I am not happy or healthy as a stay-at-home parent. A good and loving spouse wants you to grow and self-actualize. A good and loving spouse wants you to be happy and healthy. A good parent knows the kids need you to be happy and healthy, and values the example you set for them. You have a sexist for a husband. Don't let him make you feel like you're not enough of a mother because you occasionally travel for work. Even if it was for fun, you'd be no less of a real mom. Not the asshole, but at this point his views are more than clear. And he's unlikely to change. Not the asshole. Yikes, nice controlling, misogynist, asshole of a hubby you've got there. What a terrible influence for your children he is. To expect his wife to be a som? To claim that he tolerates as in allows you to work? Freaking out because he wants you to be a mom and nothing more? Requiring a house sitter and your mom's assistance when you leave for a few days because he can't be a dad to his kids? He sounds like a real winner. Not the asshole, but you didn't need to bring up what happened a decade ago. Your husband is the asshole right now. You've got childcare covered, housework covered. Your job is important for your mental health and to be financially independent from him. With the misogynistic bullshit he's coming up with, that's especially important. Your job as a mother. What the dickens? He probably is one of those Oz telling the kids, your mother doesn't love you if she travels away and has a life. Am I the asshole for not wanting to be a dad? I, am 29, had a child when I was 19. I wasn't ready to be a dad and I asked her to get an abortion. She refused and we decided she could keep the baby and I'll pay child support, but I wouldn't be involved in her life. I didn't tell my family about it. 3 months ago when I was at work I received a lot of angry messages from my parents asking me if I have a child. Apparently my ex had told them everything because she is sick and wants someone to look after the kid since her own family refused to do this. They were mad at me, telling me it was very selfish to hide their grandchild from them. I'm an only child and she is their only grandchild. They agreed to look after her and brought her into our home. Yes, I live with my parents to help them with the expenses. I told them that I can't stop them from doing this, but I still don't want to be her dad and they agreed. She has been living with us for the past 3 months, but everyone forgot about our agreement. 2 days ago my parents left her with me to go somewhere. I told them I don't want to babysit, but no one listened to me. As soon as they left she started coming into my bedroom with different excuses. I finally got annoyed and told her to go to her room and not to come out until her grandparents come home. My parents came back and freaked out when they found out. They called me an asshole for being a horrible dad. But I never wanted to be a dad and I made it clear several times. AITA? You are the asshole. The child is a 10-year-old. Her mother is apparently so unwell that she has to reach out to literal strangers to ensure her child gets care, and you can't even be civil for one afternoon. And even if your parents shouldn't have to leave her alone with you, but have you considered how the kid feels? You are the asshole. So move out? If you don't want to be a dad, go get your own place and pay the child support you paid your ex to your parents. They can also get help from the state as official foster parents, but might need to take courses. Your daughter needs someone to live with because her mother is sick? I would have reached out to extended family too if I was the only one able to care for my child and was too sick to do so. Sending her to her room because she's such an inconvenience to you is such an asshole move. She's still a human being who recently was uprooted from a life she knew. You are the asshole. I get that you never intended to be a dad, but the least you can do now is act like an adult. She didn't choose to be part of your life either. She's just trying to make the best of a new and probably very scary situation. As long as you're both living there, you've got to do at least the bare minimum, which means actually spending time with her instead of sending her to her room so you don't have to deal with her. You are the asshole. I finally got annoyed and told her to go to her room and not to come out until her grandparents come home. I don't care if it's your kid or not, that's a horrible way to behave. Be a dad, don't be a dad, whatever. But don't be a dick to a kid. Did anyone notice that her family refused to take care of the child? Her family knew, but still refused to help her and take care of her daughter. I am not defending his inappropriate attitude towards the kid, but they both made a mutual decision 10 years ago. If he wanted her to keep the baby and she wanted to terminate the pregnancy, he would still be considered an aw? If the grandparents want to take care of her, that's great. But he shouldn't be forced, guilted to. Not the asshole. I don't know how people don't get that. You never wanted to be a dad and you made it clear multiple times. Forcing people into parenthood leads to emotionally abusive parents and traumatized kids. His parents should do the kid and their son both a favor and not try to enforce him to parent her. Am I the asshole for flipping out at my husband for lying to my boss and telling him that I had a miscarriage? I 29F found out that I'm pregnant recently. I work a full-time job and so I'm fairly busy. Unlike my husband 31M who only works part-time and has plenty of time to spare. He visits his family almost daily. He also complains about how I keep missing events that I think aren't that relevant because my in-laws literally have a party every week. He told me that his mom has picked up on my absence and said that it's affecting how she sees me and the way I prioritize work over family. I had this conversation with him and his mom 100 times but to no avail. Last week, he wanted me to attend his cousin's gender reveal party. I refused because I had work. He told me to take the day off but that wasn't possible due to how much work I needed to get down. He pitched a hissy fit saying I'm prioritizing work over family and got mad when I told him that a relative's gender reveal party wasn't that important to attend. The next day, and unbeknownst to me, he sent my boss a text using my phone pretending to be me telling him that I was at the hospital because I was having a miscarriage. I could not believe it and for a minute thought it was a joke, but seeing how my boss responded just confirmed it. My boss didn't even know I was pregnant and I didn't want to tell him or the others till later on. I was seething. I shouted for my husband to come into the room and explain what the hell was going on. He told me he did that as a desperate attempt to get me to get some time off work and actually focus on what matters. I flipped the fuck out at him and told him that this was my livelihood he was trying to mess with, but he said I basically made him resort to this, and that he wouldn't have to lie if I actually made some time to see and interact with his family and show them back the respect they keep showing me. I yelled at him asking how I was going to deal with this ridiculous lie that he told my boss, and GE told me that it was easy. All I had to do was tell my hiss that it was just a miscarriage scare. We argued more and I told him I wasn't going to his cousin's party after this. He threw another fit about how my job isn't actually the problem and that I was constantly looking for excuses to avoid spending time with his family. He called me selfish and told me to look at the mirror and see who the one who is in the wrong. He left TP attend the party and I stayed home. He wasn't speaking to me when he got back and didn't even sit with me for dinner. This man will not be a good father. Not the asshole, and for the sake of yourself and your child you need a divorce ASAP. If he's willing to go to that length already, I see him attempting to sabotage your job more in the future and it could eventually cost you said job. NTA. The issue here is that he pretended to be you and lied to your boss. Now when you start to show, the lie puts you in a rough decision. I would call or see your boss in person and explain. Are you planning on raising your child in this environment? He won't allow that since he clearly needs all your attention. Not the asshole and leave. Not the asshole, but do you really want to raise a child with this man or be tied to him for the rest of your life? I'd be really rethinking this relationship because he isn't dealing in reality. Assuming your job supports your family, sometimes a job means you can't do everything and sometimes you don't want to go to every event. His judgment is clearly off and he seems to be very involved with his family of origin. When you get married, your partner is your new family and your family of origin take a backseat, and he didn't get the memo. And if you're in the US, is he that dense to not realize what telling your boss about your pregnancy can do to your career, especially if it's early? Or maybe he wanted to destroy your career. Why are you having a child with this man?